Broadcasting live on YouTube, Facebook, and X. Here's your host, Andrew Romanella.
Okay? Like, just get the hell out of here. Nobody cares what you think if you're not a Mets fan.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome into a Thursday edition of The Rome Show, broadcasting live on YouTube, Twitter, X, Instagram, and Facebook. I'm your host, Andrew Romanella. We got you for the next 30 and change, and we are talking baseball, and we are talking football on today's show. You want to get in on the action? Give us your thoughts, your comments, or tell us that our comments are stupid. YouTube.com/The Romanellas. That's YouTube.com/The Romanellas. Hit that subscribe button, people. It only helps the show. Twitter, X, and Instagram, The Rome Show 1. That's Twitter, X, and Instagram, The Rome Show. Then the number 1 sits at the bottom of your screen, the entire show, Facebook.com/The Rome Show. Before I was getting ready for the show today, I saw a social media post from a few weeks ago regarding the most difficult sports to play based on a bunch of different categories. And that's where we're going to start today. Because you know what really grinds my gears? What really grinds my gears, people, is the disrespect that comes to the game of baseball. And I'm sure there's a lot of sports out there that could feel as if the common person is unbelievably disrespecting their sport. But I saw a post via ESPN/DraftKings that I put up on social media, The Rome Show 1, Twitter, X, Instagram, if you want to see it, that rated difficulty in sport based on the following categories: endurance, strength, power, speed, agility, flexibility, nerve, durability, hand-eye coordination, and analytic aptitude. Okay, so this took all of those factors into consideration to try and figure out which sport is the most difficult, bringing everything into consideration. And from that ranking and from that system, this process came away with as boxing being the most difficult sport, ice hockey second, and football third. I got no qualms with that. My gears are not grinded because you're telling me that boxing, ice hockey, and football could be the most difficult sports to play. Well, when you break down hand-eye coordination, hell yeah, you need it in all those sports. Flexibility, durability, power, strength, endurance. Woo! Power, strength, endurance are like the definition of those three sports. So no issues with the top three. But then we get to number 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. Okay? And this is where I have an issue with it. And maybe it's human error. Maybe it's analytical error. Maybe it's computer error. Whatever it is, it's error. Because you cannot tell me that the 4th hardest sport in all of professional sports is basketball. What? Come on now. So you're telling me that basketball is right underneath the level of difficulty of football from all of those categories standpoint? And here's the kicker. This is the best part. It has basketball rated higher than wrestling. If you've ever watched a wrestling match at the college level, you ever watched a wrestling match at the international level, That could be the most difficult sport. That's how you know that this rating system, this computer-based analytical process, this is not it, at least in my opinion. Because after basketball, you have wrestling, martial arts, tennis, and then baseball. Like, come on, man. I'm not always the guy that's going to come on here and just defend baseball to the death just because I want to defend baseball. But baseball is so astronomically harder than basketball, just at the minute basis of the sport. I mean, come on, man. But I'm not even here to argue baseball comparative to just the fact that when you look at other sports difficulties, I'm sorry, you cannot tell me that basketball is more difficult than a lot of sports. My brother says this all the time with ice hockey. Half the reason why half the people in this country don't like ice hockey is because they can't relate, because they can't skate. They can't get on the rink and actually move their legs and stand up. So why are they going to like a sport they can't relate to? Every single person in America can go outside, dribble a basketball, shoot the basketball, and play in a basketball game right now. You cannot tell me that a sport is uberly difficult or one of the top 4 hardest sports, okay? But yet, it's the easiest sport for any common person to pick up and play. I didn't say it was the easiest sport for them to pick up, play, and be elite. That's not the conversation we're having here. We're talking about difficulty of sport based on endurance, strength, power, speed, agility, flexibility, nerve, durability, hand-eye coordination, and analytic aptitude. The fact that a hitter has less than 0.3 of a second to make a decision on a pitch being thrown at 90 to 105 miles per hour instantaneously makes their sport harder than basketball. The fact that a wrestler can literally, or a mixed martial arts person can get knocked out, break a leg, absolutely get torched, be in the hospital, immediately puts it above basketball. The fact that tennis is even in this conversation right now, in my opinion, is a joke. And this is not a disrespectful thing to the sport of tennis. It's hard. Those dudes are serving the ball 110, 120, 130 miles per hour. The hand-eye coordination, necessary. Flexibility, necessary. Need some strength, definitely. But like when you start to go down the categories, if you can't easily make an argument for every category, how is it a top 4 sport in terms of difficulty? And then the best part is you go deeper and deeper and deeper down this list. And I'm looking at it, I'm going, soccer? Soccer's not higher? I mean, think about the sanctity of soccer. You're running 2 miles every game. It is literally the definition of endurance, hand-eye coordination, agility, flexibility, gymnastics. Those men and women are flipping upside down. They're on a 5-inch beam, jumping, doing cartwheels every single time a gymnast, male or female, touches the floor. There's a chance for them to be paralyzed, for them to be seriously hurt, for them to not walk away from that competition. That alone puts it above basketball. So what really grinds my gears is lists like this, because I have to decide, okay, is this some loser, sorry, not sorry, sitting behind his computer, finding a way to manipulate this thing so that the statistics say what the statistics need to say, okay? That is my issue with lists like this. I have to decide, is it someone trying to piss me off, or am I just wrong? Which is okay, too. I say this to my baseball team all the time, though it's not really helping us because we can't win, regardless. It's okay that you're wrong. Like, it's okay that if someone comes to me with a valid argument as to why they believe that somehow, some way, basketball has this unbelievable score. 4th hardest sport. Come on, man. Just think about the sanctity of the sport. You could tell me it's not the 4th hardest sport. If you get punched in the face, your sport's automatically harder than basketball, than baseball, than tennis. That's a fact. If you get punched in the face, you're fighting somebody. Your sport is already harder than basketball, baseball, and tennis. There should not be a conversation there. To finish, it's really hard to make lists like this when you start adding on different sports. Like, for example, figure skating is on here. Okay? Well, when I'm looking at figure skating, I'm like, significantly more difficult than basketball. Like, that's not even close. Like, I probably have just as much power to leave the ice as I do to leave the floor to dunk a basketball. Okay? I need just as much speed, endurance, agility, quickness, aptitude, everything, if not more, in a 2 to 2.5 minute figure skating routine where I'm spinning and jumping and landing on a 1-inch blade. So whoever made this list has to seriously reevaluate what they think in terms of difficulty of sport, because the categories were correct. Okay? The categories, they had the right idea. I think they had the wrong premise. I retweeted / repost this list so you could all see it and you can make an opinion for yourself. This is not a witch hunt for the sport of basketball. No. This is a purely, if we're going to talk most difficult sports, we have to have a real conversation about what makes each sport difficult. And if we're going to rate them in certain categories, those categories better equate to what it should equate to. I don't care who you are. Downhill slalom skiing is a harder sport than basketball. And I love basketball. And my basketball people out there might ream me for this. And I'm fine with that. Cool. Hammer me. Just go to youtube.com/the Romanellas and hit subscribe first. And you can hammer me all you want. But I'm sorry, you can't convince me that basketball is harder than slalom downhill skiing. You can't. You can't convince me that basketball is a harder sport than gymnastics. You can't. You can't do it. You cannot convince me of those things. I would also continue to go on and say you can't convince me on like 30 different sports. So you put out a list like that, you obviously want to get people fired up. And like I said before, you got to make the decision. That's what I'm doing right now. Was this someone just trying to piss people off, which it worked? Or is this really something that I'm missing here? And maybe my opinion on this has been wrong the entire time. No matter what your opinion is, write it into The Rome Show. The Rome Show 1, Twitter, X, Instagram. The Rome Show on Facebook. Anywhere you want, get in on the action. Just go ahead and write it in. We were talking baseball. Let's finish there. World Baseball Classic gets started today. All right. 4 pools make up the World Baseball Classic. In each one of those pools, there are 5 teams, and they will be playing over the next bunch of days through pool play to get themselves championship round. Here's what it's going to look like for the people. Okay. Here's the overall winning props for the World Baseball Classic. So the United States of America is the betting favorite to win the World Baseball Classic. Our lineup is stacked. Okay. If you haven't seen it, it's okay. You only missed 2 exhibition games, but tomorrow when this team takes the field, make sure you're watching. It's going to be a lot of fun. Then the Dominican Republic, a long difference between the favorite United States and the next 2 betting favorites in the Dominican Republic and Japan. Then you got Venezuela and Mexico to round off the top 5 betting favorite teams heading into the World Baseball Classic. Here's what Pool D looks like in terms of the betting favorites for Pool D. The Dominican is the betting favorite in Pool D. However, 2 teams from each pool advance, so look at that slightly differently of the 5, okay? Venezuela, then Netherlands, then Nicaragua, then Israel. Shout out to former Rockland Boulder, current independent baseball player Jason Agresti. Had the chance to be on the Rockland Boulder staff with JA Oh man, I think it was 2016, 2017, maybe. Well, we were together for a little bit during our time there. Now he is one of the catchers for Team Israel. Shout out to J.A. Pool B, that's the United States pool. I arguably think that this is going to be one of the most fun pools to watch. Okay. USA, Mexico, Italy, Brazil, and Great Britain, with USA a long shot favorite in this pool. Finally, Pool A, Puerto Rico, Canada, Colombia, Cuba, and Panama. This is one of the tighter pools. Puerto Rico, betting favorite, lost a few in Correa, Lindor, and Diaz prior to the tournament, so maybe not as high of a betting favorite, but a betting favorite nonetheless. For some reason, I cannot give you betting odds on Pool C. I went to FanDuel, nothing. Went to DraftKings, nothing. Okay, so from what I understand, you are not allowed to put money down on Chinese Taipei, Australia, Czechia, or Korea. I don't know why, but Pool C, you are not allowed to do certain things in Pool C, but watch baseball. All right, so no betting favorites there. However, Australia did open the tournament today, earlier this morning, with a 3-0 victory over Chinese Taipei. Pool C will be played in the Tokyo Dome. Pool D will be played in Lone Depot Park in Miami. Pool B will be played in Dakin Park in Houston. And Pool C will be played in Hiram Bithorn Stadium in San Juan, Puerto Rico. So those are your 4 locations for pool play, and those are your betting favorites for this upcoming World Baseball Classic. Team USA opens up tomorrow. Do not miss it, because it's going to be a good one. This is the Rome Show. We take a quick commercial break. We come back. We talk National Football League offseason and another PED suspension in Major League Baseball. So much to do here. Stay with us on a Thursday. Back after this.
What is one thing every great leader has in common? They challenge their people to not stop at the first right answer. Tighten the Lug Nuts is a leadership book that will teach you how to move past the first right answer with entertaining and detailed examples founded in real-world concepts and experiences. Accelerate towards your professional goals with Tighten the Lug Nuts, one of the best leadership books available.
Welcome back into the Rome Show. We broadcast live on youtube.com/the Romanellas, Twitter X, Instagram, Facebook. So many places to get the show. We'll head right into this right now. National Football League offseason is going on. Some moves that you might not have heard of that we'll give you today. Stephon Diggs is being released by the New England Patriots. The wide receiver had a wild year, found out he was going to have multiple kids, made it to a Super Bowl, improved, regressed, and now finds himself looking for a 5th team in like 6 years. The big one yesterday, the Rams, they traded for cornerback Trent McDuffie from the Kansas City Chiefs. McDuffie, in his 4th and final year of his rookie deal, the all-pro cornerback, was traded to the Rams for the 2026 29th overall pick, a 5th rounder and a 6th rounder in this year's draft, as well as a 3rd rounder in the 2027 draft. This is one of many moves being made by the Kansas City Chiefs right now, I think, to do multiple things. Obviously, it's tough when you trade away a legitimate all-pro corner. It is tough to turn around and tell your team, hey, we are trying to improve our roster and get better moving forward, because you're like, wait, well, we just traded one of our best players, right? But you get a haul back in picks, okay? You get a haul. And when you're talking about the defensive side of the ball, you're finding great defensive players rounds 2, 3, 4, 5 all the time. So if you have the right team making those draft picks, which I think the Chiefs front office has proven over the last few years, this could be it still hasn't played out yet, but it could be more of a New York Mets situation than a New York Jets situation. What do I mean by that? Well, it looks bad at first, right? Holy crap, we got rid of that guy. That guy didn't re-sign. That guy signed somewhere else. We got rid of that guy. And you're like, wait, those are our best players. How are we going to look any better going into next year than we did this year? And then a few months goes by, some time happens. You start to put some plays, some factors out there into play. Oh, and then you get to the draft, right? And then all of a sudden your offseason might look different. That's what's going on with the Chiefs right now. Last year was the last string of whatever that 5 to 7 year run was that saw them get 3 championships. Now it's time for a change. Guys get older, contracts change. You need to make some adjustments. That's what's going on right now in Kansas City. Might look difficult on the onset because your quarterback is still Patrick Mahomes, but they're not doing this to just forget, oh, we're good, we did a good job, we'll wait 10 more years to get back. They're doing this so they can find a way to retool as quick as possible. Doesn't look sexy on paper, okay? But the Chiefs have a plan. We'll see if they can execute it. Part of that was trading Trent McDuffie. Defensive tackle Jonathan Allen has been released by the Vikings, and tight end Jonnu Smith has been released by the Steelers. Jonnu Smith was traded to the Steelers prior to the season starting from the Miami Dolphins. There was a lot of promise there linking up with Aaron Rodgers and then having DK Metcalf on the outside. Didn't work out as well as you would like. Jonnu Smith had 222 receiving yards and 2 touchdowns last year for the Steelers, but still a solid tight end piece on the market for some people out there looking for a tight end. Jonathan Allen, that defensive tackle for the Vikings, he had just signed with the Vikings. He had 68 tackles and 3.5 sacks, but I would go ahead and believe because of the production or lack thereof from a man making nearly $16 million, the Vikings are looking to save some cap space. And that's the big thing right now, ladies and gentlemen, with all of these National Football League teams. The salary cap has increased nearly $22 million. Each team has a salary cap now of roughly $301 million. Okay. So the salary cap increases in the offseason, and it gives you a different vantage point of what you believe your team can look like going into the next season, right? You're like, oh, crap, we just gained $22 more million, and we already had 16 available. So that's 38. Now, if we get rid of these two pieces, it's going to save us another $13 to $14 million. And though that guy's a really good player, we believe we can find 68 tackles and 3.5 sacks from somebody making half the amount of money. That's a smart business decision. However, it's difficult for fans to understand because the fans like the name, they like the person they've been cheering on, they like who their team is more times than not, especially good teams. It's different. If you watch the Raiders trade everybody away, you kind of understand it. You see Max Crosby unhappy in Las Vegas, it makes sense. Okay? They're a poorly run organization. Hell yeah, he wants to get the F out of there. But when it's the Chiefs, the Steelers, well-run organizations, the Rams, that's when you start to scratch your head if the move doesn't look right. But these are well-run organizations. These are organizations proven to be great year in and year out. Got to trust that and believe they're making the right decisions for the team. Because the team, unlike a lot of organizations, especially in Kansas City, has such a better skeleton to build off of, to be able to make these moves than anywhere else. And by the way, for those that forgot, Patrick Mahomes restructured his contract this offseason so the Chiefs could make the appropriate moves. Another suspension in Major League Baseball for the same guy. Jerickson Profar has been suspended for the entirety of the 2026 season for his second PED positive test, performance-enhancing drugs, for those not doing the abbreviations at home, in as many years. 2. Last year, Profar missed 50 games for his first performance-enhancing drug suspension. Came back, played. The Atlanta Braves had him mixed into their starting 9 this year, was planning on him being a huge factor in their team, gets banged for a second performance-enhancing drug violation, and has now been suspended for the entirety of the 2026 season. I saw a baseball commentator, might have been John Heyman, can't fully remember, making a great point about this yesterday. He simply said, Jerickson Profar should have to relinquish every dime that he made in 2025 after being suspended 50 games, then coming back and then having another successful PED positive test in less than a year from your initial suspension. Any money that he made last year should immediately be given back to the organization, and they should feed that through their minor league system, because that's embarrassing. It's loser behavior. You don't deserve any dollars whatsoever. And in my opinion, Major League Baseball should just ban him for life. Why does this loser get the chance to sit out another year and then try and come back? You're a loser. You made that decision. You don't get to play baseball anymore. I don't understand why we care so much about the talent of the athlete when they have blatant disregard for the rules and blatant disregard for integrity. I'm sorry, you can't play in a sport if your integrity is broken. It's impossible. And I'm sure everybody everywhere, every day has a moment of rough integrity, or a moment to themselves where they think the opposite way of what integrity is. You're a human. People make mistakes. We can get over that. But when you make a mistake like this, less than a year after you had already made this mistake, that's not an accident. That's a personal choice. That's bad guy territory. You're a bad guy, Jerickson Profar. And Major League Baseball, much like you did with Pete Rose, much like you've done with others in the past, Shoeless Joe Jackson, ban this man for life and tell him to go kick rocks. Because if there's no place in our game for losers doing that, literally that quickly, back to back. And by the way, I'm the guy that's argued for PEDs in the past. Not that they should be in the game. That I think it's unfair that the people from the late 1990s and early 2000s, i.e. Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa, Jose Canseco, are having it held against them, when at the time it was a common practice, actually kind of celebrated, by Major League Baseball. Maybe celebrated is the wrong word. More like turned the other cheek because they knew it was good for Major League Baseball. Garrett, what's going on, bro? Garrett Demarest writes in, let's go Rome. I got to give Garrett a shout out. Started his first career year as a head coach at a 6-0 clip. I mean, come on, man. That's freaking awesome. Garrett, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for supporting the Rome Show. And by the way, bro, congratulations on the start to your year. I'm over here just trying to get one victory. This man's got 6. That's awesome, though. Shout out to Garrett, and thank you for tuning in. I saw this video before I got on the show today, and I said, I'm going to finish with this. You could call it another What Grinds My Gears, but really you can just call it loser stupidity in a college sporting event. Check this out. You got the Sun Belt Conference in the conference tournament, and a massive fight breaks out. Now look who's laying knocked out on the ground. Yeah, you guessed it. That's an official. Okay, so if we replay the clip for the people, If you look down, it's the key. Okay, there are two ladies battling it about, and then they start to throw punches. The one in the white uniform throws a punch that strikes the official and knocks the official out clean. Check it out. There's the initial foot push. Okay, now the officials come. And now we have an official knocked out on the floor, and we have an all-out brawl in the fourth quarter of the Sun Belt tournament on the women's side. Yeah, this really does grind my gears. What it really does is, it's like, this is loser behavior, okay? This happened at our level 2 weeks ago. A dude from the team walked into the crowd and started throwing punches. Like, I'm sorry, but you can't play sports if you can't handle shit talking, if you can't handle a little back and forth, if you can't handle getting a little dirty. And it's funny because did I not start this show by ranting about how people talk about how basketball is the hardest sport to play? Well, in basketball, this loser behavior happens all the time. Basketball people love to chirp, but they cannot stand getting chirped. The basketball person loves to dunk on someone, but if they get dunked on, they want to punch somebody in the face. Loser behavior. In my opinion, if you start a fight at the college level in any sport, you deserve to be removed. Done. You're out. You're suspended for the rest of this year. And if I'm the head coach of that team, you're no longer putting our uniform on. Loser behavior. Okay? You're gonna not like somebody. There's going to be shit talking. There's going to be back and forth. And oh, by the way, you play a sport. That means you might get embarrassed. If you can't handle it, please pick up chess, pick up cards, play some video games, but you cannot be an athlete at a high level if you cannot handle looking dumb, being chirped, or anything that could be put on the negative side of the fence that comes from being an athlete. I am over this generation of kid right now. It's like they want to act tough, but they're not. They're so quick to just be like, you're the worst. I'm going to fight you about it. I can't believe. Oh, my God. Just stop and play the freaking sport. But the amount of fights we see now at sporting events, from parents to players to anything, but it's embarrassing. It's embarrassing. Figure it out, people. Figure it the F out. We figured it out. Maybe 15 minutes late today, but we figured it out. Thank you, everybody, for tuning into the Rome Show today on a Thursday. I hope you had a blast. I know I did. We'll be back tomorrow. I don't know, maybe 7:05, maybe 7:15, maybe 7:30. You know what you should do? You should just hit subscribe. Hit subscribe on youtube.com/The Romanellas. Subscribe to the Rome Show podcast. Subscribe to the Rome Show 1 on Twitter X or Instagram, whatever it is. And then it doesn't matter what time I start the show because you'll never miss it. I'm Andrew Romanella. You have an electric Thursday. Until tomorrow, peace.
Thank you for listening.